Welcome to Hollywood Impact. Eric and Christian here today.
We're back. I have my hair cut. I'm feeling good.
Looks good.
Thank you. I don't have a bowl cut. Thank you, Dad. I really appreciate that. Jeez. We were talking about Captain America, Brave New World.
Brave New World.
And usually we like to break these down in about 4 categories instead of 5 now. And that goes the performances, the story, the atmosphere, and the impact. So let's go and start with the performances. How are the performances in this film?
Oh, man. Christian.
That's not a good sign.
Well, no,
I
actually,
like that.
probably the performances is, for me, maybe the strongest part of this film.
Yeah.
But I'm just, overall, this movie, I'm going to probably sound very negative, but I actually like this movie. But I think a lot of it is due to the performances. Anthony Mackie, I think he did a great job.
I agree. I think he's solid.
I really liked him. I think he's been put in a tough situation with this film. And I think he did the best of what he could with it. And I think he did a good job.
Well, and he's also coming in still at a point where Marvel hasn't been extremely consistent lately.
Sure.
And he's following the last Captain America film, and it's kind of more of a sequel to the Incredible Hulk, and it ties in stuff from the Eternals as well, which I think is actually a good thing. I think it's good to have something because it makes it feel more cohesive, as if it is actually a shared universe where something from another film affects somebody else's life. And I think that's very fair, and I like the direction that they went with it. And Anthony Mackie, I think he's solid.
Yeah.
And then his new partner, Joaquin Torres as the new Falcon.
I like
him.
Yeah.
People call him like obnoxious and annoying.
I thought he was good.
I thought he was just fine, and I think he adds an optimistic energy that the movie really needed.
Right. And I think Anthony realizes that he's in a tough spot, and I think Sam Wilson understands he's in a tough spot because he didn't take the serum in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's looked at as Captain America now. He is Captain America.
Correct.
He's the first black Captain America that people know of.
Yeah.
And he's realizing the importance of all that, and you can see that, I think, play out in this film.
Agreed.
So,
and I like his chemistry with the Falcon and Isaiah Bradley. I think Isaiah Bradley's a great character. You do have to do a little bit of homework for this film. You don't have to watch Eternals to kind of understand, but you do need to watch The Incredible Hulk, and you do need to watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier to kind of see how the journey of how he got from where he is to actually being Captain America, to cementing himself as Captain America.
Right.
And his chemistry with those two characters, I think, is really good. I think Harrison Ford's really good in this movie, actually. I think he's really good.
I was nervous. I thought he was going to phone this sucker in.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to go Jason Momoa, Aquaman 2 on this and just totally phone in his performance. But he didn't.
No.
The man's he's 82 years old. And, when you think about it, he's like, what is an Avenger? I don't even know what that is. But, he actually, put some effort into it.
Yes.
I don't mind recasting.
I don't either.
I really don't. But I think in this case, Harrison Ford is such an iconic actor. He's Indiana Jones. He's Han Solo. And now to see a big name like that come into this spot, like when they switched roadies, didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I think they need to, when they switched Hulks, that didn't bother me.
Right.
I think they need to recast T'Challa. That's a whole other conversation.
Agreed.
Anyway, but I think with this one, though, it makes it tough just because it's Harrison Ford.
Yes.
I don't know why they couldn't get William Hurt.
Oh, he passed away.
William Hurt passed away?
Yeah, wow. Okay,
Dude,
this is a shocking moment. Yeah, he passed away.
Well, rest in peace, William.
Yeah, he passed away. But I think that they really did a good job of honoring the character that they had built him up to be up to this point.
Yeah, because he was really good as a General Ross, back 18 years ago, whatever it was.
He was in Iron Man 1, like in a post-credit scene. He was in The Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
He was in Captain America Civil War. He was in Infinity War for just a little bit. But I think that this perfectly seems cohesive for his character.
Sure.
I think Harrison Ford does really good here.
Yeah. He does a really good job, but at the same time, it would have been almost better if he was recasted with somebody else. That's not a Harrison Ford.
Well, I think the only problem with it is that he's I love Harrison Ford. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. But he's very old. Like, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but he is 82.
He's old. He's so old.
And so he acts like he's like all in. But the Red Hulk is a really prominent character, especially later on. And I don't know how they're going to handle that because I don't know if
he'll survive.
I mean, yeah, I don't mean that in a bad way, but
I know what you mean.
But like, he's not going to live forever, and
right.
he's lived about 80% of his life. And I'm like, that's kind of asking a lot out of him right now.
Like, hey, can you hang on another 15 years?
Can you do at least 2 more movies?
Can you get over 100 for me?
But no, I think the performances in here are solid. The story, going on to the story, I think the story is probably the weakest portion in here.
There was one?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it feels very patched together, like as if a lot of the scenes that they had written the dialogue for was more just explaining repetitively what the actual plot is. Like, if I had to count how many times that they said, like, oh, we have to make sure that this treaty goes through, probably more than one hand. And a couple of points where they just literally explain things to you and they don't let the atmosphere and the mystery kick in.
Yeah.
And I think that's frustrating.
For me, it felt like I walked in 15 minutes late to the film, even though I was there for the whole time. Yeah. I'm like, okay, wait, is there something I should have known about? Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm trying to think back to Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm like, is there something I missed? Because it just seemed like it was just thrown in.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever. And I just watched it.
Yeah. You're just along for the ride.
Yeah, I was just along for the ride. Tried not to think too much about it, but I mean, I do like some of the callbacks to older films, some of the references, but it was just, it's like they want to just throw out adamantium, just to say the word.
Yep.
Without
adamantium.
Yeah, but without, and then, I don't know, man. It's just, the story was just whatever.
Well, they had to tie
it is what it is.
They had to tie into a couple things. And I like that for those of you who don't know, because this is a spoiler-free thing. The plot basically follows, like, as Harrison Ford is trying to work together with Sam, he wants to rebuild the Avengers because the Celestial that is in the sea is made or has adamantium. And they want to mine that, and they want to collectively have like a coalition around the world to be able to agree on trying to make the whole world a better place. Because now Harrison Ford, or Ross, is now like the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And I like that. And when things go awry and when things go wrong, I like the setup that they had. I like the intrigue. I like the first third of the movie is probably my favorite portion of the movie, is when they're setting up all the stuff, the mystery's happening, and Sam is like, I don't know if I can do this because all of this just seems larger than me. Like, I really want to help this person. I really want to help these people, but I really just don't know where to start. And I like seeing his story as like, how is he going to function as a superhero?
Right.
And I like that aspect. I really like it. But it just, everything feels so Frankenstein stitched together that they either, at some moments, they tell you everything that's going on in too much detail where you're like, okay, well, I've heard that 6 times now. Or they won't tell you at all. And some of the shots that they have and some of the plot devices that they have just seem like they were just kind of smashed together in a smash burger.
Well, wasn't this like, they have a ton of reshoots?
Yes.
I mean, just like a bunch.
Reports say that it wasn't as much as people thought, but it's noticeable.
Yeah.
It's for sure noticeable.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is like the music, the audio, all the visual effects, the CGI, all that stuff is all in this case, and it's hit and miss.
It is hit and miss. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And that's sad to say. I think the stuff with Red Hulk looks pretty good.
Red Hulk looked really good, but when they, in the final scenes with the cherry blossoms, I'm like, are they using our green screen?
Yeah, I was like, I think
did they kind of get this?
Using this right here.
Because it was just like obvious and very noticeable.
Yeah.
But Red Hulk himself, I thought looked pretty cool. With the music, I noticed right off the bat they didn't have the normal, Marvel intro with the Marvel song.
Yeah.
And like, the flip page looking thing. And I'm like, okay, so we're doing something different. But it was something I caught right off the bat. And I don't know. I kind of liked when they did that. It always set the tone. It's like, all right, watching some.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like we're not playing around. Like,
Yeah.
like we're getting right into it. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And unfortunately for itself, the effects weren't always here for it, which is very. There are moments where people are talking to each other, and the camera angle they use from the other person, I'm like, that they're not in the same room.
Yeah.
I don't think these people are actually talking to each other.
Now, there were some scenes that I thought were cool where they're fighting with the jet planes and that kind of stuff.
The action scenes are pretty
I thought
cool
the
in this
action stuff was really good there, but there was still enough that was off that I remembered it and it stuck out.
Exactly. I will say, some of the music in this film I like. The people I saw it with, I don't think they liked it as much. But one piece of the music that really stood out to me was when Red Hulk finally got his transformation. The minute that it does happen, the music is like, yes, more.
Yeah.
Like the caveman portion of me is like, yes, ooh, good fight. I love it. It's like the toys. You get to smash them together. I'm like, I love this. But then you also think, Sam Wilson's also just a dude.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit because it's a Marvel movie. But for those scenes, CGI's great.
Yeah.
And for some other things, it's like, that's a green screen, or those angles look weird. The biggest one that was noticeable to me was near the beginning, where a character is jumping out of a window. He's jumping out of a large window, right? They cut the edit of him landing into 4 separate shots.
I didn't pick up on that.
He jumped out the window. He breaks the glass, right? He goes here. Then the next shot shows him here. The next shot shows him here. And the next shot shows him landing. And I'm like, I don't know who did that, but don't do that ever again.
Don't do that anymore.
That looks bad. And it was at that moment where I was like, oh, come on. Like, I was just getting hopeful. The setup is really good. And you did that. You ruined it. But no, but overall, the effects are hit and miss. Some great stuff and then some. There's a great movie in there.
It is
somewhere.
what it is. Yeah.
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 And I'm going to get ready to go into that in this next category, which is The Impact.
The Impact.
I would rewatch this. I'm going to rewatch this in the theater, probably not more than once, but I want to go see it with my brother because he loves Captain America. I really want to see it with him. But also, I wouldn't mind just seeing it again in general. I've actually heard, now this is something I wanted to mention to you specifically. I follow, I don't follow them. I should. I apologize. I don't follow you. These guys called the Escape Pod Podcast has shown up on my For You page on TikTok. And when they watched the film and they reviewed the film, one of them gave it a 7.5 and the other one gave it a 5. And then that guy who gave it a 5, he watched it again and then changed his score to an 8.
Really?
Yes.
5.5 to an 8.
He says, and I genuinely believe this because this is the mentality I went in to the actual theater with. He said, the movie is set up in a fashion where you don't know about the Red Hulk. And if you look at the movie through that lens, the movie is excellent. And when I was watching that movie, I was like, I can see it. Like, yeah, the setup is there, but if you don't know that Red Hulk is in the film, everything's a little bit more effective. I'm still not saying it's a great movie, but I think it's a much better film when you take that aspect out of it. But they had to for the sake of putting bodies in seats.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you got to have a big selling point instead of just rehashing the Winter Soldier. And so I get it, but I want to see this again to see if it does potentially change. Because,
yeah, that's interesting.
And I'm going to keep going. This is a long rant for me.
Hey, let's go.
Another person that I watched that I don't follow at all, I don't remember who it was, but I saw another person come up on TikTok and they did the exact same thing.
Really?
They watched the movie and they said, I just got back from watching it again and it's way better than I first watched it. And I was like, that's 2 people. That's 2 people that I don't know, I don't follow, I don't have any attachment to. And I'm like, there may be something here. There may be something where, like, I think you have to let your expectations go out the window.
Sure.
And blank your mind, start fresh, and just watch it again with the thought of, what am I going to like about this movie? And I think that might change.
Well, that's how I've been going into any of this Marvel stuff recently, is to have 0 expectations and not think about, all right, how are we connecting to the next phase? I just quit thinking about all that. And like, I enjoyed this movie. Like, I liked it.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours that I did not check my phone once for the time I was in it. Yeah, there's issues, there's problems. I don't know if I may rewatch it in the theater if my son wants to. Mm-hmm. If not, I'll rewatch it streaming. You know, I don't hate it, but I'm afraid because of the way it was marketed and put together, it's going to end up being one of those lower tier Marvel movies that we just don't talk about anymore.
Yeah. I still really enjoyed it. I have to preface that. I did really enjoy this film. So, it's time for our score.
Okay.
What are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it a 6.
Give it a 6.
I enjoyed it. I will watch it again. I just don't think it's going to be one of those that we look back upon and I'm like, oh, this was really a great Marvel movie. I think it's going to get forgotten.
I need to like play funeral music over this. Like, I feel sad because I think there's somewhere in here, there's a great movie lying right under the surface of this film, and it sucks because you can see snippets of it, but it doesn't quite come out of the ground, and that kind of bothers me. I'm still going to give this movie a 7.
Okay.
I'm still going to give this movie a 7 because I would rewatch it again, and I think that aspect alone of like, if I wouldn't go back to the theater, I would give it like a 6.5 or a 6. But because I'm like, I'd like to go see it again. I'm intrigued by it. I'd like to go and reanalyze it. That's enough for me to bump it right up to a 7. Otherwise, I would have given it a 6.5. But all the rest of our cast also watched this film. So instead of it just being our scores, I'm going to put up everyone's scores on the screen right now where you can see them, and I'm going to average them out. That's what our final score is. But thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out our new The Back Row podcast, which is going to have our unfiltered spoiler thoughts, all of the stuff. Absolutely just caked in there. And we hope to see you there. And that'll be on Spotify as well. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye-bye.